To learn techniques, Walt studied the book Animated Cartoons by Edwin Lutz in 1920. And he cut and analyzed film frames from Paul Terry's Army Exchange Fables. His first cartoon effort was The Little Artist, which was unfinished. Paul Terry is the guy who actually created Mighty Mouse. Click it. Disney's third attempt. He changed his company's name to Laugh-O-Grams. He got his first contract with Newman's Theater, Newman's Laugh-O-Grams. However, the audience rejected the series and it was canceled. Okay. Disney's fourth attempt. In 1922, Walt quit Film Ad Company and incorporated Laugh-O-Grams. The new Laugh-O-Grams spoofed famous fairy tales. It was unsuccessful and poor timing when released. Disney's cartoons were expensive to make. They were animated on ones. I don't know what that. Oh, they were expensive and they were animated on ones. That just means for those of you who haven't done an animation yet, that just means every time they shot a drawing, the drawing had to represent a frame. So if they had to have for a minute 1,440 frames, they needed 1,440 drawings. So that was pretty expensive. Disney's representative Mace sold the series to pictorial clubs. The cartoons were distributed to schools and churches, and after the first delivery, pictorial clubs went out of business and couldn't pay Walt. Walt went out of business. He didn't have enough money to pay his staff, so they left Disney. Disney's Alice comedies. In 1923, Disney got enough stuff to make a pilot for the Alice idea. Alice was the inverse idea of the Fleischers out of the Inkwell, meaning that Coco was a character in a real-life world. Alice was a real girl in a cartoon world. Paul Terry's Aesop's Fables were the basis of the designs of the Alice comedies, and that's Alice, and that's an early version of the combining of Felix and Oswald the Rabbit. So, as you can see the Margaret Winkler thing at the bottom. Disney goes to Hollywood. Disney seeks a distributor for his Alice comedies. After many pitches, distributor Margaret Winkler agreed to finance an Alice series. Walt established a small studio with his older brother Roy. As his business manager, the Disney Brothers studio. This is the brother Roy Disney is the one who had most of the children. Those men became the heirs to the Walt Disney fortune. It was them, not so much Walt, not so much on his side. Alice begins. Walt rented a tiny studio space and bought a used camera. He hired 6 animators from the Film Ad Company, including Oob Iwerks. That's a picture of Oob right there. Alice was produced at 1 episode every 2 weeks at $1,500 each. There was no time to experiment with medium, and often the cartoons were simply filled with gags. Now, given the time period, $1,500, for a movie is really expensive. I mean, especially when $1 went a long way. In the early 1920s, for $1 you could buy a loaf of bread. You could probably buy I guess you could buy quite a bit of meat, for like a quarter, And here they are because they're trying to compete with the live action film. And live action film was doing very well. So for them to compete, they actually had to put in time, and they had to pay these creative people X amount of dollars to actually put together these productions. So I guess the prices would be rather expensive. Again, Walt Disney director. During Alice, Walt stopped drawing and became a director. He became a coach, and the production quality increased among his crew. Once Walt stopped drawing, then the production quality increased. Walt was also the chief story man. He devoted all of his time to shaping stories, pacing the films, and making X sheets and assigning sequences to the animation. This is very true. Walt Disney, they say out of all the things that he was gifted with, Walt Disney was better at pitching a story, they say, than any other person so far in animation. Walt Disney, for some reason, he could go into the character and make you believe that just by his voice, you're watching this. You know, you're actually seeing it. I mean, he made the voices of all the characters, you know. Actually, it was Walt himself who decided that no one could be the voice of Mickey Mouse, only he could be Mickey's voice. And for years, he became the voice of Mickey. Alice was successful. More than 50 films produced. Disney Brothers Studio is launched, and Disney's Oswald series. 1927, Charles Mintz, Winkler's husband, got the 26th Oswald the Lucky Rabbit series contract from Universal Studios. Oswald was quickly produced. Money was the main concern, not quality. There were no formal plotted scripts. Gags from Walt were conducted in bull sessions. Bull sessions is when you're sitting around and you're working with the writers and you try to come up with an idea. They still call it the bullpen and stuff in some studios. Walt organized the cartoon and passed out the assignments. Meanwhile, Winsor McCay makes releases The Pet, The Flying House, and Bug Vaudeville.